Hello and welcome to another episode of Superhero Discussions. My name is Travis Hines, Travis_156 on Twitter. And today we're going to talk about the Rick and Morty two-part season finale. And I am not here alone. This is not a solo cast this week, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by Joe from Multiverse. Joe, how you doing this evening?
Pretty good. So excited to talk about this. I'm not gonna lie, Travis. Been missing talk to you every Tuesday.
Yeah, they just pulled the rug right out from under us and took a 3-week hiatus a la CW, except not as bad as what they do with Supergirl. It's like, here's 2 episodes, here's 4. Oh, we're done Christmas of next year. But we also have another guest with us, Chris Belga from Marvel Alliance and World's Finest True Believers. Chris, how you doing today?
I would say I haven't missed you because you keep showing up on Marvel Alliance, so I've only missed you all so much.
Well, you let me in to wait in the green room for the No Way Home trailer. I haven't left. I still have a tab open to the green room for Marvel Alliance. So.
you're just waiting for the No Way Home trailer too, next year.
And like, I'll just come out.
Why not, right?
Ooh. And they're kind enough that they just don't say get. So it's cool.
Not gonna lie, I thought about asking to come on DCA last night, and thought about asking to come on Marvel Alliance this week, but.
You can.
I know I can. You guys have opened it to me. I was really tired last night, and
That's all right. You can say you just don't want to do too many shows with Travis. It's okay.
Dude.
Clay. I think we all
I'm
know
right up
Clay.
there with Clay. Are you kidding me?
Well, Clay does 3 shows for the network, but 2 are bi-weekly. So I'd like to still think that we kind of average out to the same there.
Okay.
But before we get into the talk of it, Rick and Morty, I'm going to get the network plugs out of the way, see if I can knock this off quick and painless. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with podcasts 6 days a week, 8 in total. On Mondays is World's Finest True Believers with Chris Belga, where Chris and a guest take a look at the comic of a guest choice. I've been on there multiple times for Injustice. Trailer pops tomorrow, people. I can't wait for that. And also rotating bi-weekly with that is Ranger Alliance with Clay and rotating guest hosts of Jake, Tony, and this episode, Joe. Joe and Clay this week. So that's Mondays. Tuesday night is DC Alliance with myself and Clay. Wednesday nights is Superhero Discussions with myself and sometimes guests, sometimes solo. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance with Katie and special guest host Clay. I'll get that right. He made sure to make note of that last night. And that rotates bi-weekly with a walk through the multiverse, but Joe's new show, where Joe takes a look at anything and everything that isn't Star Wars, DC, or Marvel. And Fridays is Marvel Alliance with Chris and Brent. They reviewed Shang-Chi last week. Shang-Chi, sorry. Myself and Clay joined them for that. Listeners, I may have COVID, so take a little pause on me for that. So they check that episode out. That was so much fun. Myself, Clay, and Tony joined them, and I thought I loved Shang-Chi, but Clay really took the biscuit, and I was not expecting his reaction to the movie. So
I look forward to listening to that one.
That was so much fun. And on Sundays, bi-weekly, Slice of Film with Katie and guest hosts, where they take a look at any movie of the guest choosing. And that is all the shows. Both Marvel Alliance and DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel. DC Alliance goes live Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Marvel Alliance goes live Thursday nights at 9:10 Eastern Time. Both Marvel Alliance and DC Alliance also have their own podcast feeds. Just search Marvel Alliance or DC Alliance on your podcast app of choice, and you will get those shows. But if you want anything and everything, still stay subscribed to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on your podcast app of choice. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is basically a tip jar. You like what we're doing and you want to help us out any way you can. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes, like the one Joe, Chris, and Clay did about Substack. Pretty interesting topic. Clay was talking to me a little bit about that off air last night. So I'm really interested to see how that shakes out. I think we might have to take a year or 2 to really give it time to breathe before we really know how successful it'll be. But really interesting, and for creators having another outlet. And hopefully, guys, we will get together for the last round, and I will talk about that every time I do the network plugs.
Every time.
Because I want it so bad. I wish it was all released at once. Like,
And here's a preview. And here's a preview, patrons and listeners. After we're done with number 4, he's going to talk about every time until we get number 5, and then he won't know what to talk about when we get to December next year.
Trade paperback. There you go. I just love that story, and I love discussing it with you guys. So look for that this month, hopefully, unless Eastman pulls the rug out from under us next week. Yeah, so that is everything. Thank you for anyone that can be a patron and support us. Thank you for anyone that's in the chat for the live shows. Share our episodes, anything like that is greatly appreciated. So without further ado, boys, let's get into this episode. But before we do that, I want to talk about the couple promos that we got with Christopher Lloyd in there. What did you think about those? They warmed my heart, and it was really funny to see after hearing Zack Snyder just like a couple months ago talk about doing a live action Rick and Morty or a cut scene. I thought that was really awesome that we actually got that. I know they can't go super far with it, but it was really cool to see for me. What did you guys think of that?
Dude, it was totally fun. I something I was expected, and then there was only 3 of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just all 3 of them were just great. Just quick little 10-second snippets. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was nice to just see the incarnation of who Rick's supposed to be modeled after at that point, that they could do tongue in cheek. I could have sworn, I couldn't remember where it was, where their dream was to get from Morty. Who did they want? They didn't get him. They wanted Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah, I love them. Christopher Lloyd is basically who Rick is based on.
Yep.
So, his character in Back to the Future. And I just love how game he is. I wish this makes me long for him to be 10 years younger and we actually get a show of this. I would sign me up for a live action movie or anything. I'd just love to see how people try to tackle this in live action because it's crazy. That's part of why I love animation.
That's what my wife actually thought when she said, "Is there going to be a live action Rick and Morty?" I said, why are you asking this question? Because I've gone on record on this show that she freaking hates this show. I was like, no, I think you're seeing the ads of the live action ads that are. She's thank God.
Yeah, just help promote the season finale.
Yeah,
I just don't know how you would do it in live action. If I'm being honest with you guys,
I don't want it in live action.
Yeah, I love the animation part of this, and I
would love to see it in live action, but I don't. It's not. I don't think it wouldn't have the same luster.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great little like you guys said ad boost there, a bit of marketing, and I really enjoyed it. But without further ado, let's get into the first of the 2-parters, Forgetting Sarah Mortshall, 509. So, Chris, what are your high-level thoughts of this episode?
Well, I'll go on record that the title alone, I laughed a heck of a lot more than I did at Forgetting Sarah Marshall. My wife and I watched that movie only once, and we were like, did we watch a movie that everyone else saw a different movie? Because this movie was not funny.
I've actually never seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so
I don't recommend it.
Yeah. You're not missing much. I actually like him in I Love You, Man, but in this film,
that is better. That is better.
This is an absolute disaster of a film, but I do love the little play on words there for the title.
But in all seriousness, I thought it was a good kind of lead-in for the finale. It definitely set up what the season, basically coming to a head of what the season's all been leading to, is Rick and Morty breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And, really they've had more solo adventures than they have adventures together. And I think that these 2 episodes, some people have complained that the season it hasn't been as strong, but I think that there's only been 1 or 2 episodes that I haven't thought of strong. I think this was a good 1-2 punch to kind of bring enough things together that they've been kind of hinting towards, but not everything. But I did like how the genuine realization of Rick at the end of this, and just all the zaniness.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, same thoughts. It was a great. The first episode was a very nice palate, or not palate cleanser, appetizer there for the final finale, for the actual finale, and seeing Rick's character develop. We get him getting the crows as a nice little fuck you to Morty at first, and then it's like, oh, I actually bonded with these crows. okay, I'm gonna be this guy now, which is bad because Rick is just being running away from his problems, but that's typical Rick. But yeah, also agree with what Chris said. This whole season has basically been showing them Rick and Morty on their own adventures more than say any other season. So it just kind of worked its way into the final.
But I found it interesting that as much as Morty's going on his own, even by the end, even by the final episode, he can't he's codependent on Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no he can go for a little bit, but he's always going to go back to Rick. So the one person who realized he shouldn't be with Morty, Rick, is the interesting one.
Yeah, because we all know the toxicity of that relationship from the outside, but it finally pulls the wool over Rick's eyes and shows him like this is not a healthy relationship for your grandson. And I was surprised, but when we get into the next, grandson, when we get into the next episode, does he unlearn this lesson? In my opinion, he kind of does, and they kind of skip over it pretty quickly, but we'll get into that in the next episode. I love the two crows. I love the wheel. Oh my God, there's so many things about this episode.
What about like half Paul Giamatti,
Garbage Goober,
Cynthian, like dump.
Poop.
Gene with donkey brain.
And if he landed on Jerry, you get to spin again because Jerry is not better than Morty.
Yep.
Which
I just couldn't get more. Oh, it was amazing.
But it was interesting in the sense of like the idea that a saying goes like if you see two crows together, it's supposed to be good luck.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how much good luck did he have with these two crows? Amazing good luck with the crows.
And they are legendary. They are better than Morty. They actually are. They're legit. They're carrying him. And also, I don't know what it is lately. What is it with all the shows having people smoking blunts? This Titans, like, good Lord, like given some.
Careful,
we
might get demonetized by. YouTube doesn't like that.
Yeah, I should have said that B word, but
Buns. He said
I
bunt
just
cake.
was shocked. I was shocked at how big the crows played into this.
Well, especially like when they went to like the big crow planet at that point, just the way they were talking, like they were speaking like Edgar Allan Poe and the Raven at that point, like all in the kind of, I wouldn't say tongues, but someone who knows poetry better than me, I'll just say like iambic pentameter, like whatever kind of weird kind of poetry they're going on.
Rick calls him out on that, I think.
Yeah, he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with this bird shit or something like that, he said. So, and his setup and attack there is great. We got to go back for a second because I was loving how Morty was going around, like you guys said, about the two separate adventures. Morty's going around the first of this episode, cleaning up Rick's, like...
many messes.
Like, we see the dam that's broke. It's a Rick's spaceship. He just went through the dam and didn't care anymore. And Morty's going back out these things.
That is a complete knockoff on Moana. That whole sequence the
there.
Lava everything.
Yes. Yep.
The thing I didn't notice until I watched it for a second time. The crystal that comes out of the monster's head, that's the same one that Jerry touches and turns to
and breaks.
Liquid, because that would obviously, the liquid would keep that lava monster at bay. So it's just extra little touches
which is a callback to X-Men from Senator Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, this was a great episode in just establishing the toxicity of, like, just showing, if anyone didn't watch any other episode and they just watched this, they would know the toxicity of the Rick and Morty relationship easily. And just the fact that he tosses them away for crows, and then Morty meets this guy who he thinks used to work for Rick. And we find out down the line that, no, this guy's just batshit crazy and trying to steal Rick's portal gun. What do you think about that whole side adventure for Morty, guys?
That one was interesting. I always did wonder, like, what if maybe some fluid did get on somebody? What would happen? Because every time we see a portal open, like, in somebody, it rips them in half. So the fact
we see that even in this episode,
it rips the cookie terror in half. But yeah, just to have the portal fluid open up a portal on Morty's hand and on what was his name, Nick, his thigh, like I'm intrigued that they actually connect, which is interesting. But that was actually kind of fun. Their little adventures they had until obviously Morty realizes what's going on and has to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of making you think that it was the callback to what's his face, the aquamarine guy from episode when he was making reference to Rick's original partner.
Oh yeah,
at that point,
King Nimbus.
Yeah, King Nimbus. He was making reference to that, so it was almost like, oh, maybe this is the one,
Mr. Nimbus.
Mr. Nimbus. Sorry.
Yeah.
And but no, he turns out to be just some crazy kook that tried to steal his stuff.
Yep.
And this is one thing about this episode. It kind of played a little bit with the fact that like the continuity, like it tied it a little bit. But when we go to the next episode, they lean. I think the hardest I've ever seen this show lean into continuity.
Except they might have made a mistake.
I don't think they did. We'll go back because they don't count. The writers' room doesn't count the pilot because they were not. There was no writers' room for that. It was just Herman and Justin.
Gotcha.
So if people thought it was a mistake, but ultimately they
nice save.
They don't consider that a mistake. But I really like this here, and ultimately Morty rips off his hand. And
rips off. He puts it underneath a train.
Yes. And then just drops it. But we can see if you're hanging around with Rick for 4 seasons, that's not going to be hard for you to do. Especially when you know the kind of technology Rick got, you'll get another hand back. We don't really know that right away, but bam, it almost instantly. But I love that how he drops his hand into the knee of Kyle and he just disappears.
Yeah.
So we at the end of this episode, we basically have Rick packing up. It's done. He realizes how toxic this relationship is with Morty, and he leaves with the 2 birds. What do you guys think about that? Morty crying as he left. It was pretty
kind of intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it shows his codependency.
Mm-hmm.
So
and by the end of it, Rick had learned empathy. Like he was. The moment he learned empathy earlier on, he got rid of the crows, which then caused him to get pulled into the crow planet, which taught him to actually not become dependent on the birds, but they actually had a bigger connection than what Rick and Morty had in his eyes. So he actually was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this. I like this. The fact that he easily threw Morty away, because I think had he actually just dropped the birds and left, he probably would have got Morty back, or Morty would have came back, and then there would have been just business as every day as usual. There we go. That's the word. That's the phrase I was looking for. But because he got sucked back in and had this adventure with the crows, I think he found that these crows were a lot better and a lot more helpful to him than Morty ever was. Just let's look at the adventures in this season alone. When they go to try to steal the Declaration of Independence, what happens? It blows up, and then they send some French murder bot onto all of New York, and that was all Morty's fault because he pulled the trigger wrong.
Well, it especially brings up the point that at the beginning of the episode where he says, you just don't trust me. He's like, yeah, of course I don't. What do you?
He's mixing portal gun fluid with
lime
drink, and
that not Mountain Dew.
Mountain lime.
Yeah, so that ultimately by the end, Rick leaves, and I don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of a perfect setup into the next episode. But besides that, we get a little in credits teaser of the trash gobbler, the gobble
Doctor.
Doctor
Garbage Goobler.
Dr. Garbage Goobler. What do you think about that little scene? Him taking the crap from his wife and ultimately not standing up and going back to being subservient.
I think it's the weakest one of them. It just seemed like,
it was funny. It was dumb. It didn't need it, but
there are better ones this season.
Yes.
Yeah, and you probably could have went to a different. You didn't need to go to Garbage Gobbler. You could have went somewhere else with that end credit scene.
It's also just you could easily overlook it, considering you're getting 2 episodes at once. Like me personally, I've been getting them on Amazon Prime, and it I had to actually like stop the Prime from continuing on to the next episode because it was just gonna skip that ending, and I'm like, well, maybe I should just let it skip it. Like it
You
was
probably
still
should have.
it was
It just
fun, it was fine, it just wasn't needed.
I mean, there have been other ones that have been. I mean, most of them are a callback to something in the episode, but this
Yeah.
one just like, okay, you're just gonna be a garbage guy. Okay, whatever. You
Yeah.
know.
But that ends that episode. And before we get into the final episode, we're going to take our ad break for this evening. Listeners, we're an ad support network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, guys, we're jumping into the season finale. Rick, Samurai Rick, essentially. Rick Mirai Jack, season 5, episode 10.
Samurai Jack, what?
Rick Mirai Jack with a great nod to Samurai Jack as Chris's.
Which is only like the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah,
but...
essentially, but it was really cool.
Oh god, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Either or, take a shot at it.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool way to open. I know Joe had brought up like just how cool the opening of it was, especially the title sequence of just a big knockoff to every kind of anime that you see out there with the zaniness of their openings at that point. And people say, "Oh, they're making fun of it." It's like, yeah, but they're fans, so that's
yes and no.
They're fans. They're not purposely trying to say this is awful. It's a comedy, yes, but it's just bringing out. You see this all the time, so it's flat. What is it? They say imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Mm-hmm. Also, the opening theme was still the opening theme of Rick and Morty, just in anime form with words, which was nice.
Yeah, it was nice little touch there, like Joe was saying. I really enjoyed this episode. I think this is probably my favorite of the whole season. And like I said before, I love all the continuity that we get later about Citadel. But what do you think about Rick starting off where he's living his best life with the crows, and we get Morty trying to guilt him back, ultimately Rick realizing that the crows were two-timing him. What do you think of that whole scenario for Rick starting off the episode, the first 5 minutes? Joe?
I definitely want a crow horse. That thing was pretty awesome. Until he
before sentience,
before giving sentience and wants everybody to submit to him. It was awesome. Like I loved it. Seeing Rick just like confront the crows and then come up to Crow Scare, and then Crow Scare being like, "Yeah, these guys were they were my crows before they were your crows." And then seeing
pictures,
toothbrushes, suitcases, like
other things they were doing with each other.
Yeah. I don't want to see.
I don't need to see that. Oh, I don't need to see that. Oh, I didn't ask.
And then see him come back, and then like, all right, well, I'm done with this crow storyline. But he also came back because Morty had guilted him, saying that he'd been gone for essentially 20 some years, and Morty's now in his 40s, and Jerry's dead, and Summer became a nurse and married a junkie, and just basically trying to do his best to guilt him to come back. And Rick's just still like, no, I'm good. I've got to see this through.
I just like it that even I called it and the bartender called at the same time. It's like, what are you 12 ordering a rum and coke, you poser at that point? Oh, he's just playing Rick at that point. He is not 40.
That's also a 20-year-old Travis that grown-ups drink rum and cokes. That is not the case. They drink scotch and other hard liquors like that. But yeah, I was in the same boat. I really enjoyed this first 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, because we say Rick learned empathy and learned his toxic relationship with Morty. He doesn't go back because he has a change of heart or anything. He just goes back because the birds dump him. Like the birds moved on to somebody else. And
Morty calls that out later on.
Morty calls him out on that at the end. But doesn't this kind of tarnish the epiphany he had last episode to you guys at all? To me, it goes a little bit. It's with the character we've seen every other episode, but that breakthrough we had last episode seems like he forgot that pretty quickly in terms of not telling Morty why he actually left until Morty figured it out himself.
I think deep down Rick just doesn't want to admit Morty's right. and it's a pride thing. It's very obviously. How many different times does he not want to admit, he's wrong or caught off guard? I mean, the one time he he thought he was wrong with the president at that point when he was saying, "Oh yeah, you totally did this," when it was really Morty's fault. That's basically a callback to that episode this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of callbacks in this episode too. So Rick goes back to everybody, and he has to bring Morty to the Citadel to get him fixed, get him de-aged, we'll say. What do you guys think about them returning to the Citadel?
I loved it.
I think every episode that's involved the Citadel has always been top notch. I do not. What is this? The 4th or 5th episode of the Citadel?
I think it might be the 5th.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
because there was. I think there was one season where there were 2 episodes of the Citadel. But
it was the one he blew up, and then they actually had where they fixed it, and Morty became president.
Yeah, so I think it's just the idea. Again, so much of this is based on the Council of Kangs, in Marvel Comics and everything like that. But it's just like the idea of the Citadel itself, and that Rick is so hateful for it. But we find out that he is basically responsible for building the Citadel,
which explains why he hates it.
Yeah.
They became what he didn't. They basically became what he didn't set up. Like, he set up a different system, I think, anyway. Maybe he didn't, but they became something bigger than him because it's more than just one person.
To me, it seemed like he set up the Citadel to find that other Rick, the one that
evil Rick.
Yeah, the one that blew up his family, and we got to jump to that because
that's
next on my list. We get confirmation that this story happened, but the change in 301 was Rick doesn't immediately fix the portal gun and go right after. He has a big line bout with depression, and he's in a hard space for a long time before he ultimately does that. So that was a little change. So he kind of fibbed, but he was showing us a lot more truth than we all knew. So what do you guys think about that? That's actually confirmed now. What do you think about what happened with Rick, how he went through it, and Morty finding out? That's the other huge thing for me.
I like that Rick basically called it out when Morty came back after Morty saw it all, saying, "Yep, now everybody can shut up about it." Like, because I mean, we've all been talking about it since season 3.
Yeah,
we want to know what's going on. Well, his wife is dead. His Beth is dead.
Yep. Yeah, and he spent not only a lifetime trying to find the evil Rick that killed them, that was responsible, but the fact that when he basically gives up in a reality that Beth is actually alive, and so that's how he gets to where he is.
Yep.
Yeah, which was crazy. Seeing him just kill all those Ricks just because he was sad, just shoot.
That led to why when in season 1, when the Council of Ricks, captured him, that's why they were like, "You're the one. You're the malcontent. You're the one that, kills Ricks." So that, of course, I think you're the one that killed these Ricks.
And it makes sense in this, in like how basically nihilistic he is, in the sense of it's like, oh, none of this matters. Why are you all so focused on, like, he dogs on every single thing that people look forward to, like dating, love, making money and things like that. It's like he says it's all useless when it comes down to it, because I lost when I was like that and I was taking a wave, so screw it all,
Yeah, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. With also the finite curve where only Earth that the portal gun go to are the ones where he is like the man.
Yeah.
And that's something the finite curve was mentioned. Fun fact, the little Stanley Rick pops up and says this was it wasn't about that. It was about the memories being scanned for him. But I love the little Stanley Rick saying, "This was back in 109." And going out. I just love that little touch.
That was nice, yeah.
Excelsior. But Stan used to do that in comics.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No, trust me. I'm reading old Marvel books. I see it all the time.
They still do it today.
Yeah.
they'll do it. They'll do it and call back like things from the 60s. Like, oh, read this one way back when.
Yeah.
So, boys, what did you think about Evil Morty coming back finally? And we finally got a culmination of what we were teased in the end of season 1. So, what do you guys think about his whole master plan?
Dude, so thinking back on it, my top 10 have almost like the majority of the top 5 was everything involving this evil Morty.
Mhm.
Love this. I love this. Um, I am a little sad that it might be a while before we see him again. But
Long enough till we saw him this time too.
well, yeah, because last time was what, season 4?
Season 3,
Well,
I think.
he was yeah, it's season 3. He had one little like memory thing in season 4, but you really don't know if you can count that as actually being true. It was on the train episode.
Yeah.
But so yeah, season 3. Who knows? Maybe we won't see him until season 7, season 8.
So many, like I couldn't believe everything that went down there. I love how Morty. I thought when he was shown everything and how Rick created it all, I honestly thought Morty was going to spare him, like betray him. Rick even says it seems like the better option because even Morty said, "You can come with me."
Mhm.
And going back to what Chris said in the first episode, this underscores his codependency for Rick because he could have left. He didn't. Well, ultimately, we hear that it was a toilet seat, and he probably would have been jettisoned if he did go. But still,
Oh,
Morty doesn't know that.
I've definitely seen some people say the Citadel, at least the part of it, looks like Chronopolis.
Yeah.
Your model.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
But this show, and I kind of said this in our chat today or yesterday, that this show has come to a point where they needed to make a drastic shakeup of where they're going with it. Because it's been, I mean, I'm going to admit, it's been great seeing him go all these adventures for now 5 full seasons. But it's going to end up being a parody of itself if they didn't make a big shakeup like this. Like, no more portal gun in this way, and not in this shape. And I would love to know what Evil Morty's portal gun basically brings him to.
So since I saw this on the YouTube video, every green portal that the Rick went to, and any of them went to, was a world where Rick was the smartest one there.
Yep.
The yellow one, in theory, could be a world where Morty is the smartest one there.
That would make the most sense in that case if he's breaking in a sense to a different multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could even be not that Morty's the smartest person there, but it could even be Rick is the dumbest person or just a regular average person.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Maybe
Morty doesn't have to be the smartest, but he can, as long as he's smarter than Rick. I feel like with that gold portal and that gold gun, like Joe was saying, anything's on the table. We could come back for 601 and the title card changed to Morty and Rick, and we see Morty leading the event.
Yeah, say what's to say we're not going to be following that Morty now?
Mm-hmm. And I really agree with y'all in the sense of it took us 2 full seasons to get back to Evil Morty. They obviously they're going to make reference to what happened. We do not see him at all next season because it's something that it's something that they know it's important. They know the fans are, and they even said it during the post kind of behind the scenes of the episode, saying, we know fans have been asking for a while. The next episode, we knew we had to give it to them sooner rather than later. They definitely are not going to give it to us next season. They'll make reference to it, but they won't show what's going on with Evil Morty next season.
But they also have 6 more seasons that they have signed on for.
Yeah, I think 70. It was 70 episodes, right?
Something like that. I think because it was a total of 100.
Yeah, but even then, you can have all those worlds in the finite curve collide, and that could be part of what they're. You could even do. We wouldn't even know, but you could show adventures with Rick and Morty, and one of them could be Evil Morty. We don't know. Like we could see him a couple times throughout the season, and in like I'm with Chris. In season 6, I don't think we'll get direct reference.
Correct.
But season 7, we think that he was in some of the parts of season 6.
Well, how about this? Instead of Mr. Poopy Butthole at the end of season 6 season finale, we get our first glimpse of Evil Morty, and that kicks off season 7.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be crazy. But what do you think is going to happen to our Rick and our Morty in the meantime? Do you think they're going to just like all those worlds merge and they'll have to deal with those consequences? Will
I don't think it's going to go that far.
Earth?
I think it's going to be more of just they're stuck on this planet. They can't go to a different. outside of flying using the spaceship, which technically is still stuck in the Crow world, so he'd have to build a new one.
Mhm.
Outside of all that, they would just be stuck on Earth and have to have people have to come to them.
Yeah, I think the fact that they're gonna have to learn to go on different types of adventures without them basically leading the adventures. To your point, Joe, the adventures are coming to them instead of them going to the adventure.
Well, they can't
that would
reset
be a
anymore.
better.
They can't reset anymore like we got in the Cronenberg in the Love Potion episode. They can't do that's not a card on the table anymore.
No.
You burn this bridge is done. So
no, that's not to say that Rick can't make more fluid. He just doesn't have access to the giant vat of fluid that every Rick had, like the easy access. It might take him a lot longer to make more.
Well, you need to figure out the gold fluid to be able to do that.
Not necessarily. I mean, he made the fluid, but somebody made the first Rick made the fluid somewhere. Like, so the fluid's there out there. The formula is there to be made. It's just a matter of, will this Rick do that? Will he even have the gumption to try and do that? Like, at the end of the episode, he's failed everything. Like, every decision has led him to this point. And now he's just kind of stuck. Like, does he want to even attempt to try and rebuild that life he had, or does he just stick with the life he has now?
I think he's gonna be very much trying to get back to that life. He wants to be, and so that's what's going to make this season very fascinating. It's like, what happens when you take the thing that made Rick the most fascinating person out there besides all these crazy inventions? The best invention he's got is the portal gun. What happens to him when you take that away? What can he do? What is, it's kind of like the whole thing they say is with Iron Man. Who is it, the man that makes the suit or the suit that makes the man?
Yeah.
Which is that. Well, Rick still has stuff. We get it in this episode where he uses his finger and he's like, "I'm freaking Inspector Gadget here."
Yeah,
like,
he's got.
We get that reference. Do all the people really get that reference?
God no. I haven't seen.
I definitely felt old.
They did attempt a live action Inspector Gadget. I want to say with Matthew Broderick.
Right.
They did
that one. Then the second one was French Stewart.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Both were awful.
He can still do stuff, but like Chris said,
fine.
he doesn't have that portal ability now, which is a big thing. You even see that in the fight with Morty and Kyle against the rest. Like how just with portal guns, how easy it is to get the drop on people. Yeah. So that's off the table. I couldn't be more interested in how this is going to turn out. I thought this was a fantastic
honestly
finale.
It's going to kind of like reset the show. Like, beginning of the show, we had Rick with portal gun, Rick being all this like super genius stuff, and Morty kind of being dumb. Now comes season 6, no portal gun, maybe, no ship, maybe, and Morty is smarter now than he was in the beginning of the show. So it's resetting everything to the point of they're not on equal playing fields, but they're definitely closer now than they were in the beginning. And now they have to go with that dynamic and go forward. So we'll see what happens.
Like you said, it's completely shook up. So I don't know how it's going to go, but I couldn't be more interested. I got to ask you, gentlemen, before we obviously take off, what you got to rank both episodes for me. This is superhero discussions. We rate the episodes here, so
well, you don't second guess it 5 times and then do it.
Well, and we don't. I don't know if that should apply to DC Alliance. I think there'd be some rough scores on some of those episodes from my co-hosts there. So this is a far more enjoyable 2-parter. So I got to ask, starting with you, Chris, what do you give both these episodes?
I'd give the penultimate episodes an 8 at that point, and the season finale a 9.
Oh, nice. What about you, Joe?
I agree with the episode 9. I give it an 8. Episode 10. I gotta give it a 10.
There you go, Joe. That's what I was doing. That's what I was doing to you, because it's getting the same for me. It gets a solid 8.5 for episode 9, and episode 10 was my favorite of the season.
Yeah.
I got to give it a 10.
I mean, you know how I was having trouble with those 1-2 episodes for like 9.5 and 9.6.
Yeah.
This one surpasses both of those. This is an amazing episode.
I love callbacks, and so many callbacks in this one.
So many callbacks, and so much, like I think I said in the chat, we're getting answers to a lot of questions, but then we're getting more questions, and I love that.
And we get an internal debate here in this show about should this show be episodic or should it be like continuity throughout the whole through line. And they actually have a debate about it in the show, which is like, could you get any more meta than that?
I'm happy with a healthy mix of both.
Yeah, same. I just like some reward for watching all the episodes and seeing all the backstory. Even Mr. Poopy Butthole, I get a little bit of reward for seeing him because I know of him from previous episodes. Yeah. And even the end credit scene that we have him, his life has gone to crap.
God,
and you know what? You know, I also want to see another episode with Noob, and Mr. Poop Butthole.
So, where did we get the knowledge that we're going to be getting the Vindicators this season?
I thought they said that in an interview.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Where was it?
Next season.
Maybe next season.
Has to be.
We got plenty more, but I'm excited.
We got 50 more episodes.
I'd say we do not hear an announcement for season 7 until sometime next year.
I think you're right about that as well.
I think they're going to go quiet. They're going to go dark, and it will probably be spring, early summer of next year before we hear of when they're coming back.
But I love it. The same thing as when season 3 ended, we didn't have any idea. We didn't know the show was even going to come back. Like Harmon and we're being like, oh, thank God.
And Harmon was also going through a bunch of personal stuff at that time too.
But also, if you're having negotiations with whoever's going to buy your episodes, you're not going to be like, yeah, we'll do it for pennies. We don't even care. We'll do anything to just keep this show going.
But I mean, here's the thing: we know it's coming back. It's just a matter of when. I mean, I don't see it going longer than a year. I definitely see it coming back probably within. I know you said it's fall or summer, fall. I can see that.
It's typical of them lately since they've gotten the contract to.
They got 100
to
episodes.
wait a year before they say anything.
Yeah,
they're going to be asked about it if they're tied to anything else.
Time.
But yeah, this is a good year before we hear something.
Yeah, but that's it for the season, boys. Thank you so much for joining me. Chris, tell the listeners where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my 2 shows, World's Finest True Believers at Finest Believers, and Marvel Alliance at Marvel A Podcast. So this week we're going to be diving into, looks to be a Marvel Zombies, the final Marvel Zombies What If this week, and talking about Venom changing dates and
checking
ruining Chris's fun in the sense of that participation.
Checking my tab, Chris. I'm the only person in the green room right now. I will see you tomorrow.
No, you won't. You're gonna. Oh yeah. Well, technically, if you're listening to it, yeah, I was about to say you. But yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yes. So Joe, where can they find you at? Holy God.
Get those words out there, Travis.
Yes.
You can find me on Twitter at _actually_. You can find my show with this network at Walk the Verse. That's for a walk to the multiverse. Next week, when the episode comes out, I'll be talking the first episode of Why the Last Man, and I'm gonna do a little special segment where I believe Tony will be talking the first 5 episodes of Lucifer. We're trying to work that out. The show's still new, still trying to get its footing, but we'll see what happens. I might talk a couple other things, but maybe do a quick thing on Walking Dead. We'll see. But I really want to touch on Why the Last Man, since that's coming out next week. You can find my other show I'm a part of for this network, Ranger Alliance. I can't remember the Twitter handle. I think it's at Ranger Alliance with an E instead of a 3.
Yes.
No, whatever. They can find my other show, Comic Book Rundown, on Twitter at Comic Rundown and on Instagram at Comic Book Rundown.
Okay, well, thank you both for joining me, listeners. DC Alliance and Superhero Discussions and Travis_156 on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining me. Chris, Joe, thank you guys again. This has been so much fun. I can't wait for the next season. I have to wait a long time, but I can come up with theories and potential what things are going to happen. So Listeners, thank you for supporting the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, and thank you for listening to Superhero Discussions. We'll see you guys next week. Later, everyone.
I turned myself into a pickle.